always forget that some of the gyms that I go to close at 6 p.m. on the weekends. Isn't that fucking nuts? I mean, what are we, fucking 8 years old and we have an 8 o'clock bedtime? Not exactly. But luckily I forgot, or I remembered in time. So, a little bit earlier than necessarily preferred, but still a pretty well-timed lift. So, plan for chest today is really just kind of whatever catches my fucking fancy, I know I want to do the flat hammer strength chest press. They've got a couple, right? They've got an inclined one, they got a declined one with a real kind of wide sort of convergence, but the flat one, which has obviously or it's honestly kind of hidden itself from me for whatever reason. I never got into it, but I like it. Something about the fucking, and it's more squeeze focused with some machines, pressing wise at least. You've got different types of almost like focus on the reps. Like something like an inclined Smith machine, or, well, I guess let's just use an inclined Smith as that example. Obviously, the hardest part is right at the bottom, right? Or maybe more like the middle, when your arms are at 90 degrees or so, pushing the weight back up. But with a lot of the pendulum-based kind of machines where the weight rotates around with a, on an arm, it actually kind of gets lighter at the bottom in that sort of stretch position, and it gets harder at the top, which I really like that sort of strength curve, because it kind of makes the set a little bit more torturous, because instead of just failing a rep like that, it kind of turns into something that you can really sort of get behind and get into, because you can just keep burning out reps, because even though you're getting weaker, and the haul where usually it's going to be harder to move the weight gets lighter. It's well, it's a little bit hard to explain just with words, but if you felt the machine and you were like sitting in the gym next to me, I'd say, yeah, that feels fucking good, right? And that would be like the bro science extent of like gauging the quality of the machine. But warm up, shoulders, rotator cuffs, a little bit of back, a little bit of triceps, a little bit of forearms. Not going to get into that today because I'm going to be a little not crunched for time, but this will put me at just about as much time as a good chest day will take. So I'm going to try not to dilly-dally too much and have too much chatting before or after this lift starts, which is kind of a good way to go about it anyway. I mean, what kind of lift do you really expect you're going to have if the whole time, in between every set that you do, you've got 5 minutes of fucking, yapping, right? And in 1 minute, that's all right. But for the most part, I usually have to be the guy where, if we're doing like a little one-on-one, I'm like, all right, do a set, I'll do a set, and then we'll come back. Continue the conversation afterward, because that's not what's supposed to be taking priority. It's definitely an added bonus. I mean, I love some fucking gym talk, but make sure that your sets are top on the list of what you want to get done. Because I would, especially when I was younger, it's a little hard to, like, if you're talking to somebody, it's a little hard to shut them down and say, okay, let me do a set. But that's an undervalued skill, I believe. It's a little bit tricky though, because if you got any hint of maybe social anxiety or so, or if you kind of want to be a people pleaser, then it feels mean. It's like, oh well, I don't want to tell them to stop talking. I'll just keep listening. Depending on the guy, 20 minutes is going to pass, your pump is going to completely fade, and then you're going to say, oh fuck, I got to do another feeler rep before I even do this working weight, because now I'm cold again. Not ideal, I say, but I think that's as much as we need to talk about. We'll just kind of find out how chest goes once I decide what the first exercise is going to be, which I'm open to anything. Single arm cable press, machine press, Smith machine, dumbbell, barbell. I'll let the fucking gym speak to me once I step through the doors. So let's get in there. So I'm trying to ride the line between, well, not between, but to use as much weight as I can safely. right? So I think there's a clear number somewhere where the 1 plate felt perfect, 2 good, 3 good, and I was even considering going to 4, but after a failure rep with 3 and a 25, this will be a solid set. So I think 4 would put me in the risk of tweakage. 3 and a 25, slow and controlled manner, no worries. My only concern is making sure I go hard enough. Come on. Yeah. 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 Perfect. A few more. Yeah. Yeah. One more. Same weight. Goodness. Okay, let's move on to machine press. Oh my god. Goodness. 3 plates on here would be solid. Okay. Oh, that was way too fucking heavy. Let's drop it to 2 plates. Oh my god, that'll... Okay. Let's do some flies. Those sets of Smith machine press actually hit me pretty fucking hard. Let's do some bent over cable press. Half, well, kind of a press, kind of a fly. It's not just straight in front of me. It's almost like kind of a converging situation. But moderate weight, this will be good. Just need a different sign though. Okay. I think one more same weight. Drop, set it into 3-5 flies. Hold down, scram. Okay. Let's go do a side chest. Usually I'm not one for the middle of the gym pose down, but they're closing in 5 minutes, and I know nobody's about to use this space. At least I seriously doubt it. So let's see how chest looks after 3 sets of incline Smith, 2 sets of hammer strength press, and then 1 set of bent over cable press, followed by another set with a cable fly superset added onto the back of it. It all adds up to me to a pretty nasty fucking chest pump. So my body weight before I came to lift was 272, but of course that doesn't really count because that was after I kind of already ate some food today. So I'll get the morning weight tomorrow, which should still be kind of closing in on 270. That's going to be the new baseline probably reasonably soon. But until then, I'm just concerned with making sure I get as many good lifts in as possible, eat all my food, and then go home and fucking rest. Oh my gosh. Oh. I'm just thinking about fucking chest pumps and every pump, what it's going to look like when I'm extra lean come springtime. A little bit of extra hype thinking about that. But nothing else to say. Let's fucking get out of here, man. A very efficient lift today. All done. All freaking done. And I think I made one blunder during that lift, and that was moving on from incline Smith. That something about that chest press, sometimes I love it, but today it was kind of getting a lot of unnecessarily front delt activation that I wasn't getting on the on that incline Smith machine. So I think if I could go back and change it just a touch, instead of doing 2 sets of that hammer strength press, I would have just stayed on the Smith, and even maybe just have done like 1 finisher set there, and have that been the end of it with those 2 sets of cables afterward. That would have been fine. But total, that workout took just about 45 minutes, including kind of the warm-up section. Loosen up my triceps, shoulders, kind of do some chest activation presses, plus some front delt work with a few reps of front raises with the 20s, and some reverse forearm curls, kind of to get my my elbow a little bit warmer, because you do have a crazy amount of things working together with a fucking chest press. I'd probably argue it's one of the most variable, maybe not variable. Well, I would say, at least for me, it's got the most points of contention, the likes of which I actually want to worry about. With a squat, as long as my hamstrings are warm, I've warmed up my quads and my knees with leg extensions, I'm ready to squat. That's all I've got to do. Like, my hips feel nice. I never feel like I have tight hips or anything like that. But when it comes to chest, I mean, for one thing, you're transferring a ton of fucking force into your shoulders, which are reasonably delicate. If you hit them in the wrong angle, you could simply just rip your fucking rotator cuff to shreds. That'd be totally screwed. Not to put it so bluntly, but that's it's a strong possibility. Not like crazy strong if you do good form, of course, but if you let anything get a little bit too wonky, right, there can be repercussions, of course. And then all that force is also being translated in your wrists, your elbows, then kind of your actual musculature itself, not even including your bone structure of your shoulder. And then you're bracing on your back, and you're almost using your lats as a stable pressing, force to be able to actually hold the weight and not sort of wobble around. There's a lot of stuff going on. So that's where chest is where I warm up the most. Triceps, rows, front delt, side delt, even a little bit of rotator cuff, just to make sure everything's moving around smoothly, so that when I throw a couple 100 pounds straight into my shoulders, I don't have to worry about any kind of problem afterward. But yeah, Incline Smith was really clicking today. I should have stayed there, but sometimes you got no way of knowing. Maybe it would have been smarter if after that first few reps of that hammer strength press, I would have said to myself, I don't know if I really like this. Let's move on to something else. But good lift either way, even if those two sets weren't necessarily awesome feeling. They were still good. I mean, it's a failure. But I might have preferred, oh man, you know what I really like and I barely see now? I used to have one at my school's gym, and I used to have one at the YMCA that I go to in my hometown. It's kind of this converging cable press where it's basically a cable stack in front of you. The seat is facing that stack, and then you've got two cable arms beside you over here. So you could do flies if you wanted, but it feels so good for like kind of converging cable press. I don't oh, sorry for yawning so much, but I don't know where they've gone. And that is a good machine. Because when I do those cable presses at the end of today's chest day, I have to fight against gravity and kind of lean into it to actually move the weight. Whereas having your back supported against something, you don't have to worry about that extra wobbliness. You're totally stable. All you got to do is go crazy. But still a solid chest day. A little bit heavier focused. The last two chest days I did were kind of light squeezing movements, flies, cable work first, and then heavy pressing, which I do like just to change it up. But, it really is hard to beat just some basic heavy pressing for chest. And I can say that with a pretty strong fucking degree of certainty. But plan for the post-workout meal? Could not fucking say. I mean, maybe, I got no fucking idea. Potatoes, potentially. Potatoes as well as some ground beef. But I've just been doing fucking breakfast all day. I'm talking oatmeal and eggs with some cheese inside with hot sauce on top. I think I might need to hold off or else I'm going to get tired of it. Because it's good to have a solid, staple meal. But if I eat it so much I'm sick of it, then I'm going to have to find something new that I can kind of rely on. So I think moderation might be a key word there when it comes to my food intake. But I think that's all I got. So I've got a nasty back day planned tomorrow. Where exactly that'll be, can't say for sure. Back's pretty easy. I mean, I could do my own kind of solid back workout just with like one pull-up bar, doing just a pull-up based lift. Might not be the most ideal thing in the world, but I could totally get a crazy fucking lat pump for sure. So I guess we'll just have to see what happens then. But as long as I get a good night's rest, stay well hydrated, I know it's gonna be nasty. So I'll see you for that.